Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 516, and today we're doing battle with Morgana Formidables. And so, welcome to our first video of Fate's Voyage Beyond. Very excited to come out, give Morgana and the Elder Dragon and Mordekaiser a little bit of time in the spotlight, and see if we can't have some good games along the way. And so, as it happens with every spoiler season, I like to come out and review the cards, and I typically just get everything wrong, right? I might get one or two right, but typically get most of it wrong, and it just kind of is what it is. You know, you try your best, you swing for the fences, and then you miss on occasion, or you miss frequently, as we manage to do it. We have a batting average of a professional athlete out here, right? The baseball players, they're getting paid millions of dollars for doing something successfully 27% of the time, and so where's my millions at is all I'm saying. But nonetheless, looking at Morgana, the initial kind of ideas we had with Morgana is I didn't think she was going to be that challenging to flip, right? Just targeting units is something you naturally do through the game. You cast a combat trick, you cast a removal spell, you get some level ups. Morgana gets some level ups on her own. You cast a spell like single combat. That counts as two because you target your unit and the opponent's. And then the grand scheme of things, what we were going to use was Cataclysm. And so the idea being is once Morgana is flipped, you play her, you curse something, that's great. Then you get your Cataclysm attack. So say you Cataclysm into your opponent's smallest unit. Morgana's attack ability activates cursing something, and then you get your regular attack. And so Morgana gets to attack and deliver a second curse. And so ideally, over the course of this one like really high-powered turn, you're cursing down three of the opposing units and cataclysming one of them away. But in practice, it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. You can certainly make more dedicated Morgana level up decks, but I've been fairly happy with her as just a tempo unit that is an absolute monster against aggro decks. And then she's also quite strong against the various ramp decks running around. If you're able to shut down your opponent's singular big play, it's kind of nice there. But moving away from Morgana to speak to the rest of the things that didn't work out quite as I thought they would, I've been exceptionally happy with the curses. And so, Magical Fettering I thought was going to be one of the worst cards in the game. I've been very impressed with it within the Formidables here. You just find so many games to where you play a Dragonn Sculptor into a Petrified Broadwing into a Magical Fettering, and then the tempo that it gains is incredibly powerful, knowing that your opponent either has to burn 2 mana very early in the game, or they just can't play spells. It's been very nice and powerful. You'll then find these places where it's say like turn 7 and your opponent has already attacked. They've already spent their mana. You drop the magical fettering and then you know you get to open attack the next turn without your opponent playing spells. Just very powerful stuff that you can get out of the suppression. Same thing kind of applies to the Mage Seeker Inquisitor. I've been quite happy with this unit, mainly because the Dragonn Sculptor turns it into a real unit, right? Once this guy's a 3/3 tough challenger, he's a very impressive combat unit, but again, the suppression type ability is quite strong, especially if it shuts your opponent down from playing spells over the course of multiple turns. And so, good stuff, you know, the new additions here with the curse package coming in and everything. The last thing I want to kind of call out with this deck is we are playing Targon here. You're free to play any faction that you want. I started this out playing with Freylord and using the Darkened Spears and the Sky Splitters like you typically see in the older formats of Constructed, but the way at least day one has been so far for me across Fate's Voyage Beyond is there's just so much ramp decks running around that cards like Dark Binding and Yuumi are just so incredibly powerful. Like, I think at the end of the day, this is really opening up the space to where maybe you want to just play Yuumi Morgana and not play Formidables. Maybe you want to play two Yuumis, two Morganas. It's kind of up in the air, but Yuumi is quite strong here, and Dark Binding is excellent as we are out here playing against these decks that are, you know, trying to ramp very heavily into expensive units. If you get to, say, play a Magical Fettering on turn 3 and shut down your opponent's ramp spell, and then they finally get to ramp on like turn 5 and play a 7-drop and you just hit it with Dark Binding. It just does so much in terms of tempo. And so that's why we're out here playing Targon. You are free to play any faction. Morgana is a Demacian champion, so that opens you up to play anything else as you choose. But I've been fairly happy. Well, I should say I've been exceptionally happy with Yuumi, fairly happy with the Dark Binding, and then the Pale Cascade I think is just fine. I think we would prefer to play Pale Cascade over the +2/+2 thing, given that it draws a card, and you typically just need the 1 stat point. The last thing to call out before we go, we are not playing Cataclysm to that same end, as there being a lot of Elder Dragon decks running around. As we are out here playing smaller units, you just never find a combat that you can cast a Cataclysm, right? If your opponent's only unit is like a 9/9, then good luck playing your Cataclysms. And so we had to move away from that, at least for the video today. Maybe a week or two down the road, we'll be able to cycle back and look to play a Cataclysm-based deck, but not on Elder Dragon Day today, and so that's just not going to cut it. So, all right, moving forward, before the battles begin, you all know what we got to do. We got to come out and pay that pay-to-win price. And I did look at the event pass. The free prismatic you get through the event pass is on Mordekaiser. So if you do want to turn him premium, it might be worth your time just to wait and to finish out the event pass. But I was considering doing Morgana, but we'll keep it cheap today. We'll just level up this Mage Seeker Inquisitor. You know, I talked so bad about you earlier, it makes me feel better, but it makes the prismatics that everyone gets to enjoy, right? We cast that suppression on the opponent, so we get the generated prismatic card, but our opponent gets a prismatic card of their own, right? They get to enjoy the curse within their hand, and so good luck to them. So the big thing I'll call out that I really noticed here at the start of this season is there's a ton of ramp decks. They tend to either be Freylord or they tend to be Demacia, and it's worth noting which they're playing because the Demacia version doesn't get ramp spells, right? And so we are up against Freylord. I would expect him to have the kind of standard Freylord kind of curve to where they don't play anything the first 2 turns of the game, and then on turn 3 they look to play a ramp spell. We'll see how it comes about. I'm completely fine to just keep throwing units down. If he has the avalanche here to get our 2 units off the board, it's kind of whatever. And then if he does have the ramp spell, we're looking pretty strong, attacking for 8 damage on turn 2 here, or turn 3. All right, let's zing him. Good stuff. Enjoy the combat damage, my friend. Just the super high-powered curve here. We have Balin into the 2 Formidables on the next turn. I'm pretty certain we want to just continue to play units, right? He's got up to... What is this going to be? 2, 4... He's going to be at 6 mana and 2 sigils. The card that I'd worry about the most would be the pink one, the turtle, whatever, Hirishu, whatever the Your Stuff is Free unit is called. He can't play that until next turn, so I think we should be okay to add in the board width this round, and then just start crashing in. Not real certain why he's not playing anything. I'm curious as to what we're about to just get blown up by. Berserker Ursine, sure. That's not enough. That's not enough, my friend. GG, well played. On to the next one. So this is what I think we're going to potentially see a lot of in this format. That turtle thing, whatever it is, the reptile, is incredibly powerful, and I think it's going to be probably the format definer, and at least the kind of day one feel. Like, I've had opponents do a bunch of this bullshit with the Elder Dragon and the bindings and all that, and they'll randomly hit Challenger, and it's like, good job, you're good at the game. But otherwise, the only thing I've actually been impressed with out of the Elder Dragon decks is the Hirishu, and so is that what he's called? let me see. We can just search for reduce on incomplete. No, just incomplete. That should get us here, right? I haven't crafted it yet. Hey show. This is the one that I think is kind of being the format definer at the moment, and it feels like the way to be good against ramp, come on, matchmaking, is to just be like really fast, right? If you're going to spend your 3rd turn of the game playing a 2/2 and then not do anything relevant for 2 more turns, then it's just opening up to be in these spaces to where you get to play the avalanche game, right? Did opponent draw avalanche? No? Good. Then we're in good shape. But all right, reasonable enough start here. Now this is a kind of a bummer of a point, right? As we have the magical fettering, the thing we want to be doing is stopping our opponent from playing the ramp spell on turn 3. But we can't do that with just the Broadwing. And so we did come in and find some cheap plays. That's very good. Having a 1-drop to drop the Fettering so the opponent doesn't get the opportunity to get his ramp early. Exactly what we're looking to do. Now, it's not to say that he can't spend the 2, play the suppression, and then next turn have the 4 mana thing, but we have shut him down for a turn from the 5 mana thing, and so very strong. And we still got this big Petricite Hound, right? It's not like we did all that for nothing. He's got the Winter's Touch, sure. You gotta say something sarcastic like "Nice work, guy. Good job." Way to have it. But it still gets us off to a pretty nice start, though, right? He did have to spend that 2 mana. Our 2 mana is still running around on board in the form of this Petricite Hound. So happy with how that went. So here, I think I'll keep our Broadwing alive. I can definitely envision us a couple of turns from now cycling back around and getting a hook with whatever his unit is with the Fleet Feather Tracker, and then getting the extra damage in with the Broadwing. It's like, I feel like we should only have to be dealing with 1 unit here. Uh-oh, I was like 7 mana spell. I have to feel like this is relevant never.
You cannot break a shadow.
All right, combat time. I'm ready. Feels good. Feels good. GG. Okay. Hitting them with the suppressions. You gotta like it. You gotta like it. I don't know, man. It's like the previous month has been so wacky, given how like Eternal was a thing for like 3 days, and then it switched into Standard being a thing. And anytime you went and looked at the stats on Runeterra.ar, which is like Lurk was the most popular deck, it didn't matter the format. It was like the Standard Lurk players saw the Eternal season roll about, and so they started just playing Lurk and Standard, and then once the Standard season rolled around, they said, fuck this, I'm switching to Eternal and playing Lurk. And it was just like across the entirety of the timeline, it was just Lurk everywhere. But no, where that's kind of going is there has been quite a bit of ramp over the course of the past month, and I don't feel like it really got reacted to. It's tough to tell. Like, as far as being in like the competitive meta at the higher end of Masters and seeing what you see there and what we saw at the Open as compared to what you see played on Runeterra.ar, it was kind of odd, but it's still just like the ramp didn't turn up nearly as much, but maybe that'll change. Alright, though, up against Karma Sett, this tends to be a pretty challenging match, but we do have another pretty reasonable curve here. Curious to see how the suppressions play out in this match, if we draw any of them. It's not like a real game breaker. It doesn't just end the game, but it's quite strong getting shutdowns. Like, again, if you just get to time walk them for a turn here and keeping from doing anything, it just slows down their entire game plan. There's one. There's the Inquisitor. I'm not quite certain we want to go for it. Like, it is strong in the sense that it can come down and then get the free hook into the Feral Mystic. But I think we want to hold on to Morgana here because he's just going to play Sett, right?
No one is beyond my reach.
So let's go ahead and slap him. If he plays Sett, we still have very good combats with our Charger and with our Balin. And then if it's Sett next turn, we can just shackle him with Morgana. That's the game plan. But as we play against our third ramp deck in a row, you can kind of see what I mean, right? This is the kind of space to where you're like, cool, pirates, right? If you draw your one avalanche, your one set of avalanches, okay, you did a thing. But otherwise, you're just coming out and slamming. So here I think we want to go for the damage. I know that he can put the Ice Veil Archer and get the trade on the Durandi Sculptor, but he takes an absolute ass load of damage if he wants to take the trade, and that feels pretty good, you know? I like dropping an ass load out here. Looking pretty sharp. Alright, Prophet comes in. He's not playing Volibear. I'm curious why the Prophet thing would be in here. Oh, he's just going to play Turtle? He can play Turtle next turn. I guess that's a thing. Yeah. Fairly annoying. So how are we going to go about this? We can only get one unit on the board this turn. I guess we're going to find ourselves playing Balin. And then we're going to look to just get a Gentleman's Duel in this turn. And then we'll see what we can do next turn in terms of getting this stuff off the board. We have to switch to the Ocean Drake, I think, so he doesn't get to heal. Is that accurate? So, right, so we attack. We hook the Mystic with our Inquisitor. He gets to block Balin and Big Boy with his remaining 2 units, and then we get to crash in for that last 3. Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious if we can't... it's so dangerous to let him play something, right? It's not the first unit you play, it's the first card you play, so it should be very easy for him to just slap with a gigantic dude. At least the other thing that you can kind of get in this space is... hang on. I lost my train of thought on how we were going to slap here, but... oh, with Galio, right? And so we could potentially just get Galio down post-combat, and then if he tries to combat us next turn or something, we can get the rally and do stuff there. I think we got to go for the KO. It's not unreasonable to think he'd have a Harsh Winds or another interactive kind of spell to stop the Durandi Sculptor, but at least the major point of damage for the turn has been done, right? We got the free spell taken down in this Concussive Palm.
I failed you, Volbear. A little reinforcement at the seams.
So I think it's okay. I mean, who knows, right? He's got the dumb thing on board, and so there's no telling what's gonna hit with that. Like a Buried in Iceland, there's a Singular Palm, whatever the recall everything but one unit card is called. Like I have to imagine he's got a big play here to just shut us down. Oh, it's just Sett. Okay. I can live with the big play just being Sett. How close is he to flipping? He's 10 mana away. So he's gonna be getting the flip this turn. There's not really anything we can do about it. Let's at least make him work for it. Making him work for it, right? Dropping the magical fettering in. I mean, there's definitely a world to where, like, we play the fettering, then he has to play it, and then play another spell, then we get the Morgana on board to stop him from attacking. It's not out of this world crazy. Interesting. Oh, I guess not. He's just cycling. I thought it was like a removal spell or something, and I was like, okay, he's doing something, I guess. So Heisho number 2. So if you're not familiar with this, you can still play another free card now that you've got the second one on board. You know, for him, maybe it'll be Showstopper, maybe it won't, but he gets to play the next card for free. We just got to pass here. We can try and follow up with Galio. I mean, Maybe we could have played Galio first, but that doesn't seem like it does it. Right, he's not going to be flipped on the round. Alright, well, if he wants to pass on the showstopper, we'll just let it happen. I don't know how else we're going to recover this game without it being like that. We need to keep those bonus stats around if we can. And I don't think we can fight our way through this. It seems pretty far off the table, but turns out getting like non-free mana a turn's not a bad deal. Turns out somebody did the mathematics on that one, and it's not that bad. This should be an exact flip, right? Galio's at 11, that takes him to 19, and then an additional 6 gets him up to exactly. Oh, it's even more. I forgot he gets him. Oh, it's +3. I was counting +2. Okay. Again, don't have the highest of hopes for this turn, but let's see what we can do.
I have found such beauty in mortality.
Takes a while for the animation to roll over. I'm curious why, in the sense that you target the Sett, and then I guess it takes a bit of time for the shackles to come into hand, then it takes a bit of time for the immobile to show up on the unit, but it gets there eventually. Something weird happened there. Did he try to play a coin? let's get that 0 mana coin on the board. It's kind of a bummer. One off of the flip for Morgana. If she was able to attack and get her curse on attack thing that removes the blockers, we would be pretty close to getting the finish here. But all I'm really looking at is we have a good attack with the Inquisitor into the tail of the dragon. We get a good attack with Galio. And I think that's enough to just start with. And kind of activate some of his units after the fact, but... Oh, this free spell for the turn is Shackles. I wonder if that was intentional or not.
Not and ready.
That's fucking annoying.
This will hurt.
Alright, yeah. I'm pretty sure this is done. I don't think we have the stats to fight through this. This is good. Him putting the block in front of our guy lets his Gentleman's Duel onto his other. Oh no, we're one short that way, aren't we? Oh, these things have fucking spell shield. Ugh. Alright, well that's what we want. We're casting the duel, killing 2 of his units. He's got 2 dudes behind. We get the rally off of Galio.
I'm made of petricite, not patience.
Probably just dead. I don't know. It's a lot of thought going into this one. Probably should just be completely unnecessary. Okay, an Empyrean dance. That was... Okay, guy. Sure. I don't know. Maybe you're like taking a shit and playing a game of TFT and playing LoR at the same time, and you don't have all your focus. That was... Oh, okay. All right, on to the next one. But yeah, that game was over. The turn that we attacked him down to 3 and didn't get the kill when he had the concussive palm and the harsh winds, that was the turn the game was over. But it was close enough to continue on, I guess. All right, moving into the next one, up against Nasus, Mordekaiser. I'm curious, like, I worry about hands like this and starts like this where we have just like the very low power attackers. Like these decks, I guess like Quietus is kind of falling out of favor. It's not like people are running around with 3 Quietus and 2 Soul Harvests anymore, but that's my worry. That's my concern. I'm going to kick this off with the Sculptors. I know that we can't get the Challenger onto Broadwing, and I think that's okay. It's got some time before that circles back around.
I sculpt what others only dream of.
All right, so what are the chances we get hit with an Eradicate? You know, it wouldn't be ideal. The problem here is if we come in and drop like a Mage Seeker Inquisitor and he does have Eradicate, he can still just play everything. But I think I'm a little bit more on board with just adding the Inquisitor as opposed to like the width that we get out of the Hound Charger Broadwing. Like we probably just have to assume that we die to Eradicate just super hard anyways, and so I think I'm kind of okay with that.
Where's my hammer?
All right, let's just stop there. We can build to this champion strength that we just drew. Sure. More ceaseless sentries. You got it. Big Dog Balin ready to party. Again, I think there's a reasonable chance that he can come in. This is the kind of spot that I was talking about, right? Is to where we can start adding these units to the board, right? We can add Balin, we can add the Petricite Hound, and then we can drop the Magical Fettering, and we know that he can't do anything when we open attack next turn. Now, the downside with that open attack next turn is we would also like to have the mana to play Champion Strength. So if we want to take a 3-bank out of the turn, we can only spend 4 mana here. And it gets to be pretty light in terms of dropping the Fettering then. And so I think it's okay to just bring in the Hound, bring in the Balin. The Fettering hook into the Amalgamation of Vile Rites isn't that bad. I mean, do we really want to take the open, though? What do we... I don't think we're worried about, like, a Nasus coming in. All right, YOLO. It's been stated. It's been stated. If he's got... He can't have the Ruination. It's too expensive. He could hit us with Castigate, which would be fucking annoying. But... like, unless you see, like, this very leftmost card roll in as the Eradicate, I feel like we're pretty safe here. It seems like a turn to where he's like, herpity derp, it's a Nasus, and then we get to do some nice stuff. You guys kind of like Nasus, right?
Slight adjustment.
Alright, so we're not going to get a lethal this round. That's okay. Alright, the suppression's out. Did enough for me.
This will hurt a little.
Needs a finishing touch.
Alright, so Bird survives because of the Balin, the Inquisitor survives because he's a stat monster. Everything else looking strong to roll through. You can see this is the first deathless unit I've seen in the amalgamation. When he comes back with doesn't have the keyword anymore, so it's not like you get infinite resummons with these things. Kind of do with Mordekaiser, but in general, it's got to be attacking, right? I'm curious if we mess this up, not leaving ourselves a champion strength angle this turn, but I think it's okay. Get to come in with Balin, or with Galio. Still have the champion strength mana next turn. Unfortunately, no suppresses in hand, though.
No rest until the battle's won.
Steady hands.
Looks like fun.
Poor Galio. Look at poor Mordekaiser. Look at him. He doesn't survive anything out here. What a sad day. So he's gonna do stuff. We'll get a rally off of this. We can still champion strength if we need to. It should be pretty close to done. Appears as though it is. GG. Well played. On to the next one.
That was fun.
Yeah, so that's the kind of weird thing with Deathless to me. I thought, like, when Riot posted the like the Mordekaiser spoilers and they were using the Noxus Deathless units, that they kept coming back over and over and over and over again. But maybe it was because, like, the unit died and then Mordekaiser tagged it or something. I don't entirely remember what I saw, but I liked one of the viewers proposed that maybe the units, like, keyworded with lifeless, just keep it and keep coming back. But if you attach the keyword with, like, a spell, then it might fall off since the unit, like, dies and comes back and doesn't see it anymore. But it doesn't seem to be the case all around. It seems like it's just you get the one activation, and so kinda dead is what you know. Not anything kind of permanent, just kinda. So let's see what happens. We got a pretty bad start here. I was mulliganing our hand away to look for 1s and 2s, and we did not find any. We're stuck with the Charger on 3, and then I guess Morgana on 5. You know, we're kind of far off, but so, you know, not. This is, I don't know. I don't know what we're getting gamed with here, since you can kind of play anything with the Poro King, right? You know, you typically see him with Targon to have, like, a single copy of Zolani or something, but I guess you can do a bunch of attacking with your Poros to level up the dragon or something. I don't know. It's a thing, I guess. But we're going to go ahead and slap the suppression. I would like to limit his mana as much as we can. Make it a little bit more challenging to get those Poro snacks off. We got all the curses. So how we want to do this? The tracker kind of sucks here. It doesn't even feel like a bait for the patched Poro bot. I guess we'll hang on to it. He does have some quality Poros, and then we're just gonna slap it with the Gentleman's Duel. It's probably bad, right? At the end of the day, we don't have a ton of removal in our deck, and we don't really want to be spending our removal on things that aren't the Poro King. So let's just pivot for a hot second. We'll play the Dark Binding onto the Poro bot to protect our bird. Now, I'm happy enough to send bird into, say, Daring Poro or into this Lifesteal Poro, but yeah, that kind of, I don't know. I kind of wish we just didn't play the bird and now had fettering mana.
You cannot break a shattered soul.
So now it makes the shackles cost 6 on the singular unit. The shackles stack based on the unit's name.
After this one.
So who do we care more about, the lifesteal or the elusive? I'm gonna go with the lifesteal.
Frailty.
What have Poro's done to you?
Snack it up. Gonna do? Is he gonna spend the 6 mana this turn to get his to get his Poro bot back? I would have to imagine the answer is no. What? Crazier things have happened. That's it? That's weird. He played the draw Poros things, but then didn't add any. Maybe he was worried about what we would add. Alright, well, I can get behind a second Balin. We're not going to be able to do too much in terms of, say, oh shit, how bad is this? The floofs? What's this thing even do? Is this permanent? Grant other allies that have subtypes 1/1 and impact. That's not bad, I guess.
Truth binds you.
Alright, well, we'll keep him from casting spells the rest of the turn at least. we'll get to drop the big fettering, you know. It's gonna let us have a pretty decent attack for the round, but
My pain.
I gotta assume that we're just kind of dead at this point. Got a full board of Poros and everything.
Do not look away.
But, you know, you could draw champion strength. That's always an answer, right? Yeah, just draw champion strength. Looks like we're gonna kill half his board or so. Can't play any spells because of the suppression. We know that we're safe in this combat. And we are close to a Morgana flip. Like, we don't have too much targetable stuff left. I mean, the Gentleman's Duel gets us two level ups, though. Yeah, you gotta spend all this mana, son. You gotta spend that 4 mana to get your floofs back. You gotta spend all the mana for the floofs. Dragon. Ugh. This is such a weird Poros deck. Okay. It's a testament to how bad the Poros match is. Now, I guess it's not entirely fair. The Poros match is not good for Formidables, but when the opponent plays like 2 Poros and then they have the draw 3 and the snacks and then immediately stop and then just land on the expensive stuff. All right. RNGesus knows how to party. But let's get us one more game in here today. See how it goes. We've gotten to play against Mordekaiser. We've gotten to play against what's his name? The Elder Dragon like 7 times. Now we're up to Jhin. Against this match, I just like to make sure we have as much cheap stuff as possible. And then I wouldn't be opposed to having Morganas, right? Morgana should be fantastically strong in this match with her lifesteal and fairly healthy stat line. And so I think she'd be good. Let's see, let's lead in with a bird. I want to be getting the Yuumi on board. Oh, okay. He elects not to take the skill. You typically just take the 2 damage as Jhin there.
I'll shoot the wings off a Viltwas.
That seems like a crappy draw from the opponent. So the important thing to note here is he wants to play stuff like Stunbird to stop us from attacking well. And Stunbird's gonna come down and land on the Durandi protege, so we still get the opportunity to attack with our Broadwing. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get one more in after that. That was only like a minute and a half game, so. All right. The actual final battle. Let's see how it goes. That was going to be our first game to kind of deliver the Yuumi as well. I don't know. I've just been so impressed with Yuumi these days. She does quite a bit of work. Just not a lot of answers in terms of what she does. All right, so what's this? We got another Elder Dragon deck. Big surprise in Demacia, which is typically dragons, but he's sporting Garens in his deck, and so not entirely certain what we're in for. I mean, I guess you do have to play something before turn 7, and so having Garen helps out a little bit in that sense. Elites, okay. Elites with the dragon. I'm going to add the bird. They typically don't have 2 mana elites. They're just only Cytheria and then the tough unit. And then they want to play the Battlesmith or the Battlemaster, whatever he's called, and then they typically ramp into their elites on turn 3. And so I felt like we should have been able to get an attack in that round.
Soldiers, to me.
And I would imagine he doesn't have the +2/+2 spell. Like that's a, well, I guess the +2/+2 block onto the Broadwing. He does have it here, or he'd never make this attack. I was going to say onto the Broadwing, it's a trade and not a win. So, that's okay. Let's add bird. I don't think we're going to use it, but I would like to maybe get a little bit of a bait here. Get him to spend some mana before we drop the fettering onto our Broadwing. Just hooking in the trusty Ramhound is not the most ideal of turns.
Ready to do my part.
Hi, bruh, get suppressed. Got to imagine this Elite's Elder Dragon deck is one of the few that really does not care. Good sequence. Why wouldn't you play Cytheria before the 3/3?
My story ends. My journey continues.
Okay. So, I mean, as far as, like, playing against normal elites go, this is fine, right? I mean, we have the Morgana, we're building up board and stuff, but it's just like one really expensive card is enough to kind of ruin our day.
You cannot break a shattered soul.
But Morgana does buy us a bunch of time. We're not going to be able to do anything here. We're going to have to play to the champion's strength. But I think this is okay. If we're gonna play champion strength, we want all of our units around, and so don't want to be coming down here and making trades.
For king and country.
That's a bummer. I was planning on doing some more gentlemanly dueling, but Garen makes that a bit of a suck. But we know we're safe, right? He's got that suppression in hand. Can't do anything to stop the gentleman's duel, combat tricks, whatever. It's not in the cards. Now I'm curious to see if he opens. It's only a 4-unit open, and so, like, I mean, I guess you can play the suppression, play the shackles, and then open. Like, spend all 6 mana to come in. But that doesn't strike me as enough. So he played the Suppression and then played Genevieve with 2 mana left behind. Why even bother? Well, I guess that makes sense. Deathless Genevieve. Oh boy. So she gets to come back and give the bonuses again. Awesome. I don't know what else you're supposed to say in that spot.
Hold nothing back.
We're not letting that happen. I mean, she can come in and die and stuff. Oh shit, she just gets to kill Morgana. I guess she does have Challenger.
I'm sorry.
And I can just tell this keyword's gonna piss me off for eternity. So we only have the one good hook. That's a bummer. I was hoping we were going to get to clear out board and then follow up with like an open attack next turn, but our units on board are just so small. Like we never managed to pull anything off with Balins and stuff. Like even if everything went right this turn, I still don't really see how we would be recovering. Sure. Well, we would have recovered a lot better if that wasn't a Deathless Genevieve, but kind of is what it is. All right, GG. It's weird. It's been such a weird set of Elder Dragon decks today. It's like let's take these decks that are super low to the ground and then just add in random expensive stuff to it. It's like, you know, you can make a deck that has, say, like 2 Legion Rearguards in it and no more 1-drops. And then if you just say, draw your 1 Legion Rearguard on turn 1, and then you play a 2, and then you play another 2, and then your other Legion Rearguard, and then you just never play another 1-drop the rest of the game. That's what these decks we've been playing against today were like. That's just like absolute insanity, right? Let's take a deck like Poro's, just the go widest deck in the entire game that wants to unit buff everything that it has via Poro snacks, and then we're gonna include the Dragon package in it for like random Dragon and Ferocious Floofs. Okay, you got me once, but then you move on to just seeing elites. Like, what expensive unit does elites want that's not already in there? Like, I guess you can be in this space. Like, is that what was happening? I didn't look at the deck list, but you can just play 1 Elder Dragon so that you get the boon package for all of your expensive units. But if that's what you're doing, like, why isn't your deck 1 Elder Dragon, 2 Jarvans, 3 Garens, and then like Genevieves or Cythrias or is like the capture unit. I was trying to think of her name and the capture word at the same time and nothing came out, but I don't know. Welcome to day 1, I guess. But nonetheless, I think this deck has a touch of potential. Like, I think the thing to kind of say with this is, like, it's probably not the best Morgana deck. Like, I'm kind of okay with thinking of this deck, again, like as, say, 2 Morganas, 2 Yumis, 2 Galios, because we were never close to flipping Morgana today, but her, like, suppress ability is so strong. And her ability to come down, shut down a unit for a while and be a nice tempo play, playing against stuff like Annie Jhin, just having a 3/4 lifesteal almost ends the game on its own. And so, like, she does have a place. She's going to have a space in this meta. Like, I assume what's going to happen is people come out with their brews all over the first day, and they're playing all these terrible ramp decks. And then the answer to playing the terrible ramp decks is to play something really aggressive. And then once things get the time to kind of balance out a little bit, then a card like Morgana can come in and shine, as to where she can fit in the space to where she just trucks all of the really aggro decks, but then she's not a complete dud if you do pair into ramp. And so something interesting in that space. But nonetheless, like, looking at the space of the Formidables, I am super happy with both Magical Fettering and Mageseeker Inquisitor. Like, the glue that kind of ties them all together is the Formidables package, right? Because if you're not getting Durandi Sculptors into Mageseeker Inquisitors, it kind of sucks. If you're not getting Magical Fettering onto a unit that has Formidable, it kind of sucks, right? You'll find spaces to where You know, maybe even in one of our games, we put the magical fettering on the Mage Seeker Inquisitor so that it got a good attack in. But that's like the minority of the time, right? That's kind of like a 15%er kind of play, to where the other 85% of the time, you're just putting the fettering on a formidable and getting the +2/+2 out of it. And so, like, within the package that we have here today, I think the fettering is good, but once you move away from having access to formidables, I don't think it's really going to cut it. Now, the space to where that starts to get kind of interesting is like, how many formidables do you need for it to be good? Because you can play Petricite Broadwing in so many decks. Like, literally every Demacia deck of all time just plays Petricite Broadwing in it. And maybe that is enough to actually warrant the inclusion of the magical fettering in these kind of aggro-y death and taxes style of decks. But it's going to depend a lot on the kind of meta and the kind of decks that actually want this kind of ability. Because I mean, it is strong if you're putting the magical fettering on your Petricide Broadwing against Karma Sett, and they have to spend the 2 mana to get rid of the fettering, and then they also have to spend more removal spells to get rid of your Broadwing. Like, it has done an absolute ton of work. It can also work nicely enough against the kind of aggro matchups to where your unit's big enough to win the combat now, and your opponent can't play combat tricks in the middle of combat. And now that you've gained the tempo by having your big Broadwing challenge down your opposing unit, you still have the strong unit on board. If they want to play a spell, they have to lose even more tempo by getting rid of the suppress. Like, it's been a very nice card. I'm just trying to envision how much non-formidable you can get away with, because I like a lot of this package, but it felt like we ran into too many of these games to where we just didn't have that punch at the late game, right? I feel like in 2 of our 7 games today, we were on like turn 6 or turn 7, and we had like 5 units on the board, and they were all 2/2s. And so that's the place where champion strength typically comes in, and we're only playing 2 copies, and you can maybe play Jarvan, you can maybe play Garen to fill in that spot, but that was my major problem with the day. But nonetheless, as far as these cards go, I think Morgana will have a place to shine, right? We mentioned she's good against aggro, she's good against mid-range, she's good against a lot of stuff. It probably needs to be in a more like dedicated style of deck, but you can start to look towards things like Dragonn Protege that target your own units. You can look towards things like Ice Veil Archer that target your opponent's units. It's going to be finding a bunch of ways to target stuff without a single card. Like the way that we used to talk about Lee Sin back in Expedition is you either have to have a unit that counts as a spell that counts as a unit, or you have to have a spell that counts as 2 spells, right? So you have to be playing Tail of the Dragon that generates the +4 health spell. You have to play something like Concussive Palm, that's a spell that puts a unit on the board, or you have to play spells that generate spells like Sonic Wave, right? That gives you 2 spells for 1. Otherwise, you just don't have the density of stuff that you need to level up your Lee Sin. And then if you do manage to get him leveled up, you don't have any spells left over to interact throughout the rest of the game. And that's going to be the thing to me that's kind of very important for Morgana, for her success in terms of flipping. Because like getting her really close to flipping today and just being kind of like, oh boy, if we can get this attack off, it's going to be something special. Like there's probably something there. But you're going to have to start to look towards these things, right? So things like Dragonn Protege that targets a unit and leaves you with a unit. Something like Ice Veil Archer that targets your opponent's unit, leaves you with a unit. Something like the Targon spell that gives 2 units +1/+2. Something like Make It Rain for your 3 targets, if you will. That was one of the things I initially looked at today was Make It Rain scouts kind of thing with Morgana, but there wasn't enough stuff outside of the Make It Rain to make it happen. But nonetheless, people will figure it out as time goes on. As far as this stuff goes, I like the suppresses in the Formidable Shell. Not certain how it falls outside of the shell, but Petricite Broadwing is the key build around here, and she works pretty nice in that sense. And so, nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bustin'. We thank you for being here.